Hey, Chris, this is Sarah.
Hey, Governor, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Couldn't be better. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
Well, a lot going on here. The polls seem to be tightening up.
Yes.
Looks like
good
we've got a
news, yes.
2 or 3 point race among likely voters. What do you think is the most important message that you get out in the final days of the campaign here?
That there are just stark contrasts between the two tickets, and we have great faith in the American electorate that they're going to realize these stark contrasts and choose the right team. John McCain leading our team in an economic recovery plan that will allow our businesses to keep more of what they earn and produce so that they can hire more people, create more jobs here in Pennsylvania and get this economy moving. And then, of course, John McCain, who is known as the next needed commander-in-chief in this time of great national security need. Also, we're in a time of war. He being the one ready, willing, able to lead us in victory against the fight on terrorists, the war on terrorists. Stark contrast between the tickets, and we're going to work very hard getting that message out.
Well, and speaking of that and the commander-in-chief role, you've probably seen that an Al-Qaeda leader just today, Abu al-Libi, said that he is interested in seeing the Republicans and President Bush humiliated. What do you think that means? What do you think that tells us?
That is very, very disturbing, very disturbing. Now, this morning I was able to meet with some of our nation's leading national security experts and had a very valuable time in speaking with them, and we need to speak to the American people more definitively about the situation that we're in right now and the war against the terrorists. And after talking to these national security experts, we walked away from there with just confirmation that we're on the right track and trying to get this message out. We are a nation at war. We cannot be lulled into complacency and thinking that we are secure today. We thought we were secure before 9/11, thinking that oceans were separating us from the terrorists. We're a nation at war. We need a commander-in-chief who understands how to win the war and will not wave a white flag of surrender and be one, I guess, whom some would like to see elected. And then, as Barney Frank said the other day, start gutting the U.S. defense budget by 25%. Those steps that would be taken that would weaken America's position in this world. We've got to go the complete opposite direction of that.
Now, when Al-Qaeda specifically, and Abu al-Libi says that he would like to see the Republicans humiliated and President Bush humiliated in the upcoming election, is that an endorsement of the Democrats and Barack Obama?
That's a great question. And, I guess I'd say on that one, too, they can judge us by our enemies, the Republican ticket here. But, it's important to remember, too, that gone are the days when we could place domestic and foreign concerns in just distinct categories and choose a president according to the priority of the moment. When you consider that today, for so many Americans, of course, the priority of the moment is dealing with the economic crisis that we're facing. But we need to elect a president who can handle the difficulties of the economy and the dangers of the world. John McCain is the trusted candidate on these national security issues. It's kind of no wonder that we're hearing the comment that you just cited me. We have to make sure that we have a commander-in-chief ready, willing, and able to handle on both fronts victory on the economic crisis and in the war against the terrorists.
Well, Barack Obama was endorsed quite openly by a spokesman for Hamas, and now it's and there's been sort of tacit endorsement from Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, and there's been an outright endorsement from Hugo Chavez. I assume William Ayers and Bernardine Dohrn will be voting for him. I assume that Rashid Khalidi will be voting for him. The guy's got quite the rogues gallery of supporters, does he not? And now we have Al-Qaeda itself, Al-Qaeda Central, and Abu al-Libi calling for the humiliation of the Republicans. That's pretty extraordinary, pretty outrageous, isn't that? I mean, isn't that another endorsement in the Obama column?
Well, look, as this time for choosing is coming closer and closer, I think Americans are realizing, our voters are realizing that they've got to decide which man in this race has proven that he can protect us from Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden and the prospect of, say, a nuclear-armed Iran and the other grave threats in the world that we're facing. The only man who fits that description is John McCain.
And when you've been, I know, talking about, since I brought up Rashid Khalidi, about the Los Angeles Times sitting on this videotape of Barack Obama singing the praises of Rashid Khalidi, who's, of course, a spokesman for the Palestinian Liberation Organization at a time when they were defined by our State Department as a terrorist organization. Any movement from the LA Times on that? Do you think, I mean, is that a matter of the public's right to know, or is the LA Times, sitting on it for legitimate reasons?
Well, we never heard any even quasi-legitimate reason until just, I think it was yesterday, where they came up with the reason that they're protecting a confidential source. Before that, of course, there was no reason given at all. But, yeah, that's also very disturbing, and I guess some politicians would love to have that luxurious position of having some in mainstream media protecting their interests like that. And can you imagine if it were John McCain, who had been seen at a party toasting somebody perhaps who was such a controversial figure? Mainstream media would be all over this and forcing to go to the videotape. But very disturbing there. But even more disturbing is that Obama is not ready to lead. His own running mate in the primaries, where he was reminding us through the primaries that Barack Obama is not ready to be the president. And then, of course, Biden's comment recently when he kind of got off script and was finally candid and stumbled upon the truth, saying that Barack Obama will be tested. Our nation would be inviting an international crisis by July of 2009 if Barack Obama were to be elected. Now, contrast that with John McCain. He's been tested. He knows how to win the war. He understands what the greatest threat against our country is, and that is radical, violent Islamic terrorists. That's why he pushed so hard with the surge strategy that is proving to work in Iraq. John McCain knows how to win the war.